Have you ever had the unsettling feeling that something was amiss, yet you couldn't quite articulate what it was? A sense that your decisions weren't entirely your own, as if an invisible hand were subtly guiding you. Perhaps you've found yourself extending favors you'd rather not, conceding in arguments where you knew you were right, or placing trust in individuals who later revealed a different, less flattering side. If any of this resonates with you, and deep down, I suspect it does, then listen closely, because what I'm about to say could fundamentally shift your perspective. The stark truth is, you are being manipulated daily. It's happening by those closest to you, by the pervasive influence of the media, by leaders vying for power, and by anyone who understands the intricate, often hidden mechanisms of the human mind. And the most insidious part, you likely don't even realize it's happening. Forget dramatic hypnosis or cinematic mind control. The most effective manipulation is the kind that makes you believe you are in complete control, that the decision was entirely yours, that the mistake was solely your responsibility. Millions live this way, unknowingly steered like pieces on a chessboard in a game they never even knew they were playing. And the moment they try to deviate, they are met with feelings of guilt, crippling fear, and paralyzing doubt. They have been emotionally conditioned to remain compliant, to not resist. If you're thinking, "This doesn't apply to me," pause for a moment. That's precisely the thought a skilled manipulator wants you to harbor. In this message, I offer no comforting illusions. I offer tools. Because those who truly master the art of manipulation, as Machiavelli so keenly observed, don't resort to shouting or brute force. They observe, they understand your deepest vulnerabilities, and they act accordingly. They know what truly drives you, what ignites your passions, and what keeps you awake at night. And if you remain unaware of these drivers, you will inevitably be driven. Prepare to understand how people manipulate without you ever suspecting it. You will recognize recurring patterns, the subtle emotional tricks, the insidious games of control that play out daily. You will identify your own hidden vulnerabilities and learn to construct a robust shield for your mind. Because true freedom isn't simply about doing whatever you want, it's about understanding why you want it. This is a call to arms, a summons for those who are tired of being exploited, for those who have silently endured suffering, unjustified blame, systematic silencing, and subtle conditioning. Here, you will learn to shed the role of puppet and embrace the role of strategist, taking control of your own narrative. But be warned, once you truly see, once the veil is lifted, you can never pretend you don't know. From this moment forward, prepare yourself, because what you are about to discover may irrevocably alter the way you perceive the world and the people in it, including yourself. Have you ever observed how certain individuals consistently manage to get what they desire, even when they appear undeserving? They don't resort to shouting matches, overt threats, or desperate begging. They persuade. They engage. They subtly make you believe that yielding to their wishes was your own brilliant idea. This isn't simply charisma or charm. It's a finely honed technique, manipulation in its purest and most effective form. The manipulator rarely acts impulsively. They are masters of observation, painstakingly studying you, your reactions, your weaknesses, your unmet emotional needs. They keenly observe when you crave approval, when you recoil from rejection, when you feel the sting of guilt for asserting your boundaries, and they skillfully exploit these vulnerabilities to their advantage. Manipulation often begins long before the first word is even spoken. It starts with the silent, almost imperceptible reading of your body language, the subtle inflections in your voice, the telling pauses between your sentences. Some manipulators wield the weapon of charm. They shower you with smiles, dispense carefully crafted compliments, and present themselves as distinctly different from the crowd. They make you feel uniquely seen, deeply heard, and extraordinarily special. But behind this alluring veneer of kindness lies cold calculation. They are strategically creating an emotional debt within you, a feeling of obligation, because when someone seems too good, your innate instinct urges you to reciprocate. And that's precisely when you begin to unconsciously yield your ground. Others prefer to employ the insidious weapon of guilt. They skillfully play the role of the perpetual victim. They lament being overwhelmed, complain that no one truly understands them, and subtly suggest that they only have you to rely on. Gradually, almost imperceptibly, they place you in a position of overwhelming emotional responsibility. And should you attempt to pull away or dare to say no, they don't need to engage in a direct confrontation. A carefully placed sigh, a subtly cutting remark, a poignant look of profound sadness is often more than enough to achieve their desired effect. The truly skilled manipulator never needs to make an explicit demand. They skillfully orchestrate the situation to make you offer what they desire. Then there are those who skillfully wield the power of fear. They paint vivid pictures of catastrophic scenarios. If you pursue this path, you'll inevitably end up alone and forgotten. If you ever leave me, you'll never find anyone who will truly understand and appreciate you. They don't bind you with physical chains, but with cleverly implanted ideas, with insidious seeds of doubt. They erode your confidence in your own abilities, making you question your own judgment, and ultimately, you remain trapped by your own perceived limitations, your own volition. These strategies are not new, nor are they particularly inventive. Niccolo Machiavelli, in his seminal work, The Prince, described with chilling, almost surgical coldness how manipulation can be wielded as a perfectly legitimate tool of power. He understood, perhaps more profoundly than anyone else of his time, that human beings are fundamentally driven by their inherent interests and their powerful emotions, and that those who master the art of understanding these fundamental drivers can effectively shape entire realities. As he astutely observed, men judge more by their eyes than by their hands, because all can see but few can touch. Manipulation is precisely that, a carefully crafted visual and emotional spectacle, meticulously designed to appear as authentic reality. The manipulator constructs an elaborate theatrical production, and you, without even realizing it, become an unwitting member of the cast. They assign the roles, meticulously write the script, and skillfully make you act out your part. And the most unsettling part, you genuinely believe the plot is your own creation, when in reality this elaborate theater only functions because there exists within you something that allows it to thrive. A gap, an emotional weakness, an unhealed wound, a silent, unmet need that acts as a vulnerable entry point. This brings us to the crucial next section, the underlying vulnerability that makes you a target in the first place. Because as long as you remain oblivious to what truly weakens you, you will continue to be manipulated, And tragically, you will likely continue to call it love, friendship, or even respect. It's time to expose these weaknesses, to drag them into the light. If this message is resonating with you, if you feel a stirring of recognition within, then show your support by subscribing to the channel. Your engagement is invaluable. You are not manipulated simply because you are weak or foolish. You are manipulated because you are profoundly human, because there exists within every human being an emotional blind spot, a lingering unresolved desire, a deeply felt wound that is never fully healed, a silent, unacknowledged need that acts as an exploitable gap. And that's where the skilled manipulator enters the picture. They don't use brute force. They listen intently. They perceive what you don't even consciously see in yourself. Some of us carry an insatiable, almost desperate thirst for approval and validation. From a young age, we were subtly taught that we must relentlessly please others in order to earn affection, to be deemed worthy of love. We internalized the message that love is not an inherent right, but a reward to be earned through tireless effort and unwavering compliance. And so, we begin to meticulously shape our behaviors and carefully mold our attitudes in order to be accepted, to be valued, to be truly seen. This deep-seated need, this gaping hole in the chest, becomes an open invitation for the manipulator. They offer carefully measured crumbs of validation, and in return, they receive your unwavering, almost blind loyalty. They skillfully say what you desperately want to hear, and in exchange, you willingly surrender your autonomy, your power to choose. Others carry a heavy burden of guilt, an invisible weight that shapes their every decision. They relentlessly blame themselves for daring to say no, for daring to prioritize their own needs, for daring to establish healthy boundaries. They were taught that thinking of oneself is inherently selfish, that self-sacrifice is the ultimate virtue. And that's why, even when they intuitively sense that something is fundamentally wrong, they fail to react because they fear being perceived as too harsh, ungrateful, or cold. The manipulator expertly preys on this ingrained guilt. They subtly insinuate themselves as someone who genuinely wants only what's best for you, someone who is acting in your best interests. And with that subtle justification, they begin to skillfully control your decisions through a carefully distorted lens of morality. And then there are those who are burdened by fear, a paralyzing fear of rejection, a soul-crushing fear of loneliness, a terrifying fear of being forgotten, of fading into insignificance. Such individuals desperately cling to any connection, even if it is demonstrably toxic, out of a profound dread of facing the perceived emptiness of solitude. The manipulator skillfully offers a false sense of security, a deceptive promise of belonging, and then subtly threatens to withdraw it at any moment. They make you feel that without their presence in your life, you are fundamentally inadequate, that you are somehow less worthy, and you readily believe it because your own deeply rooted fear had already whispered that insidious message long before they ever did. All of these vulnerabilities have a traceable origin, a specific point of inception. They don't spontaneously arise from nothing. They are the direct result of past experiences, of silent traumas that remain unresolved, of inherited emotional conditioning that has subtly shaped your perception of the world. But as long as you avoid confronting these unhealed wounds, they will remain painfully open, vulnerable to exploitation. And those who approach you with a disarming smile on their lips and cleverly concealed ulterior motives will instinctively know exactly where to touch, where to press, to achieve their desired outcome. Machiavelli deeply understood this fundamental truth. He recognized that true control doesn't require the use of brute force. It requires only a keen understanding of human weaknesses, the ability to identify and exploit those inherent vulnerabilities. The nature of peoples is variable, he wrote, and it's easy to convince them of one thing, but difficult to keep them in that conviction. The skilled manipulator, therefore, does not waste their energy on direct attempts to convince. They skillfully occupy the emotional empty spaces, the areas where self-awareness is lacking, the places where insecurities fester. They strategically settle in where conscious thought is absent, where instinct and emotion reign supreme. But there is a way out of this insidious trap. You don't have to remain emotionally predictable, a pawn in someone else's game. You can actively learn to identify your own hidden gaps, to understand your own vulnerabilities, and to seal them off from exploitation. Only then will you cease to be an easy target, and only then can you begin to live with true clarity, with genuine intention. And that's precisely what we will reveal in the next section: how to develop real emotional armor, creating a robust and lasting immunity against manipulation. Are you truly ready to stop being held hostage by your own emotions, by the whims of others? Because the next step demands courage, a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. Most people harbor a superficial desire to stop being manipulated, but remarkably few are actually willing to pay the true price of emotional freedom, a brutal, unwavering self-awareness. Because the truth, ultimately, is what sets you free. But first, it inevitably hurts, and the first painful illusion you need to shatter is the comforting belief that being inherently good, inherently empathetic, and inherently understanding will somehow protect you from harm. It won't protect you. In fact, it is precisely these virtues, when not tempered with clarity and discerning judgment, that make you an easy and attractive target for those with manipulative intentions. Developing true emotional immunity is not about transforming into a cold, unfeeling automaton. It's about cultivating profound self-awareness, about learning to recognize and disrupt the automatic reactions to the emotional triggers that manipulators skillfully use against you. And the first crucial step in that process is recognizing your own patterns, becoming a keen observer of your own emotional landscape. Stop and meticulously observe. What specific triggers consistently make you yield your ground? Is it the lingering fear of disappointing someone, the gnawing anxiety of being rejected, the desperate desire to maintain peace at any cost, even at the expense of your own well-being? When you begin to truly understand what drives you, what motivates your actions, you begin to fundamentally change the entire dynamic of the game. The second essential step is to cultivate what Machiavelli might aptly call strategic detachment, the ability to observe a situation with clarity and objectivity without immediately becoming emotionally entangled. You need to learn to emotionally distance yourself from volatile situations without sacrificing your inherent empathy. This means learning to observe without immediately jumping to conclusions or becoming personally invested. It means refraining from responding to flattering compliments as if they were irrefutable truths, as if they defined your entire worth. It means becoming adept at noticing when someone is attempting to subtly guide you through emotion and consciously pausing to engage your rational mind before reacting. The manipulator thrives on your emotional urgency, on your immediate response. They need you to feel, not to think. So, consciously choose to think. The third crucial step is to become deliberately unpredictable. Manipulators operate with the assumption of predictability, with the confidence that they can anticipate your every move. They meticulously map your typical responses, creating a detailed profile of your emotional triggers and behavioral patterns. They know that if they feign sadness, you will instinctively offer comfort. They know that if they shower you with compliments, you will lower your defenses. They know that if they exert pressure, you will ultimately yield. Your defense lies in deliberately disrupting these patterns, in throwing a wrench into their carefully laid plans. Surprise them. Say no when they confidently expect a yes. Disappear when they anticipate you to insist. Maintain a deliberate silence when they expect a heated confrontation. This effectively disarms their carefully constructed game and forces the other person to reveal their true intentions, to expose their manipulative hand. Another fundamental point is cultivating and building a solid sense of identity, a strong and unwavering belief in your own inherent worth. The more deeply you understand who you are, the less you feel the need to constantly prove it to others. And the less you feel the need to prove yourself, the less power others have over you. Manipulators thrive on controlling the perception you have of yourself. They attempt to make you doubt your own judgment, question your own values, and constantly reevaluate your worth, always subtly guiding you in line with their carefully constructed narrative. When your internal vision is clear, strong, and unwavering, external control simply loses its power, its grip on your psyche. And don't be fooled into thinking this is a passive process. This is active training, a constant and deliberate practice. Emotional immunity doesn't magically materialize after watching a video. It arises from the consistent and deliberate practice of self-observation, resisting the urge to automatically please others, steadfastly standing by your decisions even when you encounter discomfort or disapproval. It comes from constantly remembering that you owe nothing to anyone but your own mental and emotional integrity, and understanding that remaining sane and grounded in a world where everyone is playing manipulative emotional games is, in itself, a powerful act of resistance. Machiavelli wisely wrote that, "Men must be pampered or destroyed, for if merely offended, they will take revenge." This thought, while undeniably harsh, reveals an uncomfortable truth about the dynamics of power. In the complex game of power, there is no true neutrality, no safe middle ground. Either you actively dominate the emotional field, or you will inevitably be dominated by it. But what if the manipulator is not some distant figure, but someone who is intimately woven into the fabric of your life? A partner, a family member, a colleague? What if the manipulator is at home, at work, or even in bed next to you? How do you act when you simply cannot sever the ties, when the relationship is too deeply entrenched? In the next section, we will delve into the more delicate and challenging realm of manipulation, close relationships, and how to effectively escape emotional control even when the manipulator is someone you genuinely love. And this, perhaps, will be the most difficult and demanding test of your strength, your resolve, and your newfound awareness. If what you're hearing resonates with you, If you feel a deep sense of recognition within, then you'll find real, actionable value in my ebook, Beyond the Shadow. It breaks down Jung's core ideas and provides you with practical tools to understand yourself more deeply, to confront your hidden vulnerabilities, and to take control of your own narrative. You can find the link in the pinned comment below. It's relatively easy to discuss manipulation when the manipulator is a stranger, someone outside your inner circle. The real challenge lies in confronting this uncomfortable truth when the person who is subtly controlling you is someone you deeply love, a parent, a partner, a close friend, a trusted mentor. In these instances, manipulation often takes on a more subtle, more insidious, and ultimately more dangerous form because it comes disguised as genuine affection, as heartfelt care, as unwavering loyalty. And you, out of a deep-seated fear of losing the connection, of disrupting the relationship, remain trapped in an intricate emotional web that slowly consumes your energy, your clarity, and ultimately, your very identity. The intimate manipulator rarely resorts to outright lies. They skillfully distort the truth, subtly bending reality to fit their narrative. They don't need to raise their voice or engage in overt aggression. They subtly insinuate doubt, eroding your confidence from within. They don't overtly prevent you from making your own choices. They subtly make you feel immense guilt for daring to choose differently, for pursuing your own path. Over time, you gradually stop questioning, stop asserting your own needs. You begin to walk on eggshells, constantly monitoring your words and actions to avoid triggering a negative reaction. You meticulously anticipate their every move, striving to keep the peace at any cost. And without even realizing it, you become a hostage trapped within an invisible prison, constructed not of physical bars, but of the intangible bricks of emotion. In a romantic relationship, this manipulation can cleverly masquerade as affection. I only do this because I love you so much. Without you in my life, my existence has no meaning. But love that demands submission, that requires the suppression of your own needs and desires, is not love at all. It's emotional blackmail, a subtle form of coercion. Within the family unit, manipulation often dresses itself in the guise of tradition. You can't possibly do this to your own mother. You owe us respect for everything we've done for you. But respect that is extracted through guilt and obligation is not true respect. It's a subtle form of control, a means of maintaining dominance. At work, manipulation frequently presents itself as loyalty. You have to be grateful for the opportunity we've given you. Who else would offer you a chance like this? But gratitude that is weaponized as a form of debt is nothing more than pure manipulation, a means of exploiting your vulnerability. And here lies the central, unwavering point. Proximity, however close the relationship may be, does not justify emotional violation. Love does not grant anyone the inherent right to shape another with fear or guilt, to mold them into a version of themselves that suits their own needs. However, in order to break free from this insidious cycle, you must first accept something profoundly uncomfortable. Not every relationship that contains affection is inherently healthy. Not every person who claims to love you truly knows how to love you freely, unconditionally, without hidden agendas. And not every bond that holds you in place is actually protecting you. Some are simply preventing you from growing, from reaching your full potential. But how do you act? How do you begin to reclaim your agency? Start by establishing clear, firm boundaries that do not require endless justification. A young ye takuyato no, said with serenity and conviction, carries far more power than 1,000 convoluted arguments. Then comes the crucial act of exposure. Verbally express what you see, what you feel, what you will no longer tolerate. Not with the aim of convincing the other person of your perspective, but to assert your own truth, to reclaim your own narrative. And finally, stand firm, unwavering, when the inevitable reactions come. Because they will inevitably come. Insults, feigned victimhood, punitive silence. The manipulator thrives on your hesitation, on your willingness to back down. They will relentlessly test your limits, hoping that you will ultimately cave, that you will succumb to their pressure. And here's the reality that few have the courage to face head-on. Sometimes, the most loving act you can perform is to step away, to create distance. It means consciously exiting the dysfunctional dance, refusing to participate in the destructive patterns, and allowing the other person to confront their own emptiness, their own unresolved issues. Because as long as you remain present, as long as you continue to try to save, sustain, or endlessly explain, they will have no incentive to change, no motivation to confront their own shadows. And in the process, you will inevitably lose yourself, sacrificing your own well-being in a futile attempt to fix what is ultimately beyond your control. It's an incredibly difficult choice, often accompanied by immense guilt and pain, but it is a necessary one, because only those who free themselves from toxic bonds can develop a new kind of vision, one that sees beyond superficial words, beyond carefully constructed masks, beyond manipulative intentions. And it is with this newfound clarity that we enter the next stage: how to strategically apply Machiavelli's timeless thinking to the complexities of modern life, to keep your mind shielded in a world where everything and everyone is vying to influence you. The time has come to turn the tables, to shift from being a pawn to being a player. Machiavelli never wrote with the intention of pleasing or appeasing anyone. He harbored no concern for appearing ethical, virtuous, or well-intentioned. His sole commitment was to revealing raw, unvarnished reality, the kind of uncomfortable truth that most people actively prefer to ignore. And if you genuinely want to survive psychologically in today's world, you need to learn to think as he did, with brutal clarity, cold strategic precision, and unwavering emotional detachment. Because, make no mistake, we are living in an era of constant pervasive manipulation. Social media, marketing, politics, religion, personal relationships. Everything operates based on principles of influence, crafted image, and carefully constructed narrative. Those who fail to grasp this fundamental reality are destined to be swallowed by it, to become unwitting pawns in someone else's game. Machiavelli viewed human beings as inherently predictable, driven primarily by their self-interests and their powerful emotions. And he asserted that those who possess a deep understanding of these psychological mechanisms wield significant power, the ability to subtly influence the behavior of others without ever needing to raise their voice or resort to overt coercion. In practical terms, what does this actually mean? It means you need to consciously stop living on emotional autopilot, to disrupt your automatic responses and engage your critical thinking. Machiavelli did not subscribe to the concept of universal morality. He believed firmly in the power of context, in the understanding that what works effectively in one situation may prove to be a significant weakness in another. What appears noble in theory can often be strategic suicide in reality. Kindness without discernment is foolishness. Honesty without proper timing is self-sabotage. Limitless altruism is a form of servitude. If you aspire to true freedom, you need to learn to play the game and play it exceptionally well. This journey begins with meticulous observation. Learn to read people as Machiavelli read the nobles of his time, not by the flattering words they utter, but by the revealing actions they take when they believe no one is watching. Evaluate their behaviors, not their empty promises. Analyze recurring patterns, not carefully crafted excuses. Place less trust in spoken words and more in the hidden interests that lie beneath the surface. And above all, consciously resist the urge to immediately react. Anticipate their moves. Become a strategic thinker. The manipulator operates with strategic precision. Your defense lies in consistently being one step ahead, in predicting their actions before they unfold. Then strategically employ silence as a potent weapon. One of the most common and detrimental mistakes people make is excessive emotional exposure, a tendency to reveal too much, to talk too much, to over-explain their actions and motivations. The Machiavellian mind understands that silence confounds, commands respect, and effectively disrupts the manipulator's rhythm. When you consciously choose not to react as expected, the carefully constructed game loses its script. And it is in that void that you gain the upper hand, that you seize control of the dynamic. Another essential application is mastering the art of ambiguity. Machiavelli taught that in order to maintain power, one must cultivate the ability to appear virtuous without necessarily being so. In the modern world, this translates to adapting your language, your posture, and your overall presence to suit the specific environment without compromising your core values or sacrificing your authentic self. You do not need to fully reveal yourself to everyone you encounter. You only need to show enough to effectively control their perception of you. The rest you strategically keep to yourself, because real power often lies in what is not displayed, in the carefully guarded aspects of your inner world. And most importantly, take full and unwavering responsibility for your own emotional state. The manipulator thrives on your instability, on your insecurities, on your vulnerabilities. They need you to doubt yourself, to feel fear, and to hesitate. When you possess a deep understanding of yourself, when you can effectively regulate your emotions, and when you remain steadfast even under intense pressure, you become impenetrable, a force that is difficult to manipulate. Machiavelli wisely wrote, "The prudent man should follow the paths beaten by the great and imitate those who have been excellent, so that even if he does not reach their level, he may come close." In other words, learn from the wisdom of those who have mastered the game, and use their insights to prevent yourself from being a mere pawn in someone else's manipulative scheme. Now that you possess a deeper understanding of the intricate workings of manipulation and how to strategically protect yourself from its harmful effects, one crucial question remains. What do you actually do with all of this knowledge? How do you transform this theoretical understanding into practical strength, into a new and empowered way of existing in the world, immune to external influence? This is what we will explore in the final section: how to take complete control of your own mind and ensure that you are never manipulated by anyone again. Are you truly ready to cut the last invisible strings that still subtly control you, to reclaim your autonomy and live a life of genuine freedom? Then continue, because the most transformative part of this journey is yet to come. We have reached the most important point of this entire message, and perhaps the most challenging to fully accept. As long as you do not take full, conscious control of your own mind, someone else will inevitably do it for you, either intentionally or unintentionally. And it doesn't have to be a Machiavellian villain, a cartoonishly manipulative figure with nefarious intentions. Sometimes it's someone smiling warmly next to you, someone who believes they are acting in your best interests. Sometimes it's a seemingly innocuous phrase you heard as a child and have unconsciously carried with you ever since, without ever questioning its validity. Sometimes it's society itself, which subtly shapes you from an early age to obey authority, to yield to social pressure, and to remain silent in the face of injustice. The manipulation that most profoundly affects you is not always found in the deliberate words of others. It's often found in the unquestioned thoughts you harbor within yourself, in the limiting beliefs that have taken root in your subconscious mind. It's in the emotions you treat as absolute truths, failing to recognize that they are often transient and subjective. It's in the decisions you confidently call choices, but which in reality were subtly induced by fear, guilt, or the desperate need for acceptance. Freedom truly begins when you stop passively calling free will what is, in fact, disguised conditioning, when you begin to recognize the subtle ways in which your thoughts and actions have been shaped by external forces. But this freedom comes at a significant cost. It requires you to shatter the comforting illusion that everyone inherently has good intentions, that those around you are always acting in your best interests. It demands that you dismantle the carefully constructed image you've built of yourself as someone who must always be kind, always be understanding, and always be available to others, regardless of the cost to your own well-being. It requires you to tolerate the discomfort of setting firm boundaries, of establishing clear limits that protect your energy and your sanity. It means accepting the potential weight of silence after saying no, the potential loneliness of stepping away from dysfunctional dynamics that may have harmed you, but that have also, paradoxically, seemed like an integral part of your identity. You will no longer be susceptible to manipulation when you fully understand that you no longer need to be universally accepted, when the fear of displeasing others no longer holds power over your actions, when your clarity of purpose is greater than your perceived neediness, and when, finally, you can look into the eyes of those who have attempted to control you and calmly, confidently say, "No more." What you choose to do with this knowledge now is entirely up to you. You can passively go back to your life and conveniently forget everything you've heard, continuing to play the game without consciously recognizing that you are being played. Or you can begin, starting today, to actively train your mind to observe, to analyze, to resist, and to rebuild your internal foundations. You can consciously choose to become the kind of person who does not bend to emotional blackmail, who sees clearly through carefully constructed masks, who walks firmly and purposefully even when everyone around you is going in circles, lost in their own illusions. Comment below and share your experiences. At what specific moment in your life did you realize you were being manipulated, that you were being subtly controlled by someone else's agenda? What was the pivotal realization that made you truly see, that lifted the veil from your eyes? Or are you still caught in a manipulative emotional game, and do you desire guidance or support to break free? Share your thoughts, speak up, because verbalizing your experiences, bringing them into the light, is the crucial first step toward breaking the cycle of manipulation and reclaiming your power. And if this message has opened your eyes, don't stop here. Watch the next message in this series. It is just as vital as this one, perhaps even more so. Knowledge is a ladder, and each step you take brings you a little further away from the shadows, a little closer to the light. So keep climbing, because the truth not only sets you free, it fundamentally transforms you from the inside out. See you there. So, there you have it. The core message boils down to this. You have the power to break free from manipulation and reclaim ownership of your thoughts, feelings, and actions. It's about developing a profound understanding of yourself, your vulnerabilities, and the tactics used by others to influence you. This journey is a continuous one, requiring constant self-reflection and a commitment to building emotional resilience. The goal isn't to become cold or cynical, but to develop the cognitive clarity needed to navigate the complexities of the world with integrity and self-awareness. Developing your emotional intelligence and understanding manipulation is key to your digital wellness as the battle for your attention rages on. I genuinely hope this exploration into the psychology of manipulation and the neuroscience content that illuminates its mechanisms has resonated with you and provided you with some valuable insights. Remember, understanding these patterns is a crucial step toward creating lasting change in your life and building a strong productivity mindset. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What are your biggest takeaways from this video? Do you have any questions about the specific techniques we discussed? Or perhaps you have a personal experience you'd like to share? Please, leave a comment below. Let's create a community where we can all support each other on this journey towards conscious living and self-optimization. And finally, if you found this information helpful, please subscribe to the channel. By subscribing, you'll ensure that you don't miss out on future videos filled with more mental health tools and strategies for developing high-performance habits, strengthening your AI philosophy of self, practicing a time perception perspective, and mind reprogramming to protect yourself in an era saturated with information and subtle influence. Let's embark on this empowering journey together.